Alright, hi there YouTubers and Facebookers. Let me introduce myself. My name is Keith, aka Sejuris Infowarrior, aka Hoshiru. But that's not important right now. What's important right now is I have a friend named Jason Blackcat. Shout out to the Blackcat crew. You throw some kick-ass parties. Well, threw some kick-ass parties back in the day when I used to party out, go to raves and whatnot. Anyway, the reason why I'm making this video is Jason Blackcat posted something about Ron Paul not being a good presidential candidate. Fine, you're entitled to your opinion, and I'm just letting you know that I disagree. Now, the disagreement is not the problem. The problem is what that disagreement is based on. Jason BK, we'll call him that for now, says that, well, Ron Paul, the reason he doesn't like Ron Paul is, number one, he implies it that he's a racist, or he supports racist views, and two, he doesn't believe in the fairy tale of man-driven global climate change or whatever. As far as him being a racist, those claims were made during the last presidential race, and they were unfounded, and several retractions had to be printed. But whatever, if you still want to think he's a racist because he doesn't believe that central government is the answer to most of our problems, then sure, whatever. Man-made, man-driven global climate change or whatever, it's been debunked. It's been proven that the so-called facts that they present to us were lied and misconstrued. And on top of that, all those scientists that they said that backed their claims, I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was a pretty high percentage, over 50%, that said we never even claimed or said that man was the cause for the climate change. Of course, they would ignore that it was the sun, but they said at one UN conference it was voted on consensus, and keep in mind, these are not scientists, these are politicians, those that were members of the UN, saying that, well, it's decided by consensus that the sun does not affect the global climate. Alright, if you still believe that's a conspiracy theory or whatever, hey, fine. That's not what I'm here to address. What I'm here to address is, here's a question that was posed to me on my on the comment section of Jason BK's Facebook page. In your opinion, the Bill of Rights does not apply to the states? Well, then he said something about Ron Paul doesn't respect the Bill of Rights because he doesn't like the 14th Amendment. A couple of things wrong with that statement. Number one, the 14th Amendment is not, I repeat, not part of the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. For example, First Amendment, freedom of speech. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Third Amendment, well, the government can't force you to quarter troops in time of peace in your home. Fourth Amendment, I believe that's it's not the right to remain silent. I should have wrote down the notes. Fourth Amendment escapes me right now. I think it has something to, Fifth Amendment is, of course, the right to not self-incriminate. Sixth Amendment, speedy trial. Seventh Amendment, trial by jury. Eighth Amendment, drawing a blank. It's forgive me, I just came back from a training session that took 8 hours. Well, an excuse, never mind. Can't remember the 8th. 9th and 10th Amendment. Now, here's where I have issue with the question. In your opinion, Bill of Rights does not apply to the states. 9th and 10th Amendment are all about the states. 9th Amendment is, well, if there were any rights that we forgot to list in the first 10 amendments, we still have them, and the government cannot deny them. 10th Amendment says power is not delegated to the federal government. They have no say in the matter, and again, that relegates to the people. Now, if you look at the first 10 amendments, the people and the state can be used interchangeably. For example, Second Amendment. In order to preserve the security of the states, the right of the people shall not be infringed. Now, some people will say, well, that makes it a collective right. How the fuck are you going to have a collective right when the individual rights are not respected? That doesn't make any sense. But of course, they'll do this mental gymnastics saying that, oh no, it's a collective right, it's not an individual right. So let me get this straight. All the amendments in the Bill of Rights refer to the individual and what the government cannot do, except for the Second Amendment. And the 9th and 10th Amendment clearly says the people, the states, the people in those states. The only thing the government can regulate is the borders, which they're not doing. Intercommerce trade, interstate commerce, which means that if two states have a dispute, then it's up to the federal government to step in. Or if the states are violating the Constitution, it is the job of the federal government to step in and enforce the Constitution. That's what states' rights mean. For example, some states might say, well, it's legal to own black folks. Other states might say it's not legal to have black folks as slaves. Well, the ones that says it's legal to have any kind of folks as slaves, it's illegal. It's unconstitutional, and the law shall not be enforced. Hell, they can pass a law saying that it's legal to roast babies on a White House lawn. Does that mean that just because it got passed, that is to be followed? No, Constitution makes that absolutely clear. So, in my opinion, does the Bill of Rights apply to the states? The Bill of Rights applies to government, period. State, local, federal. If you violate any of those rights, guess what? You're illegitimate. So it is not an opinion, it is fact. And I asked him, hey, why don't you look at the 9th and 10th Amendment? He had the nerve to say, I forget the guy's name, but he had the nerve to say that I dodged the question. No, I answered the question. Number one, 14th Amendment does not refer to the Bill of Rights. It's not even part of the Bill of Rights. Second, if you read the 14th Amendment, it tells you that, well, everybody's now subject to the federal and state government, with the federal government taking precedent. That is counter to the spirit and to the letter of the Constitution. Please, don't believe me, read for yourself. Now, the fact that I had to make a YouTube video specifically for a Facebook comment shows you how much how important this issue is to me. So, to answer your question, it is not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of fact. The 9th and 10th Amendment talks about states' rights, and it talks about any powers not delegated to the federal government they don't have, and any rights they might have forgotten to list, or for whatever reason were not enumerated. Oh yeah, government can't talk about that either. That's up to each individual states, the people of those states. For example, Nevada, it is legal to gamble, and in certain parts, prostitution is legal. Now, you try that in, say, for example, New York City, you're getting locked up. Pure and simple. That is a state's rights. The federal government cannot come in and say, well, you know, since we don't like prostitution, Nevada, you can't do this anymore. Or since we love prostitution, New York City, you have to have a legalized prostitution. So here's another question. Marijuana, is that a state's right or not? Well, according to the Constitution, that's not a power delegated to the federal government, so that's a state's right. And if the people, let's say for example California, want to legalize it for medicinal purposes, federal government has no say in it. If you disagree, please post a comment, hit the dislike button, I don't care. If you agree, post a comment, hit the like button. Spread this message around, because it's one thing if you disagree with Ron Paul being a good presidential candidate, fine. If you understand the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and are totally against it, hey, that's your opinion, as long as you understand what it's truly saying. If you disagree with it because what you think it says is completely counter to what it actually says, then please read up on it and then make up your mind. This is Sajiri Sinful Warrior, aka Keith, aka Hoshidu, signing off.